John McClain has been, well, I think his career now is a vacation. He's been at baseball training camp, of course, covers everything now with GallerySports.com. John, are you still in, is it Kissimmee? Where are they now? Where are the Astros at? Where is that?
They're in West Palm Beach. They moved there 7 years ago from Kissimmee.
Okay.
They built them a monstrous ballpark complex they share with the Nationals. And it's weird because when you're driving up in the parking lots, you see the big ballpark in the middle, the W sign to the right, excuse me, the A to the left. Both teams have multiple fields on their side. You never know the other one's even there.
So, John, do the Astros look World Series ready again?
You know, when I was there for 10 days before I came to the Combine, they did. They only have – really, they need to decide if Chas McCormick or Jake Meyers is going to play center field. I'm guessing McCormick. And who's going to be their backup catcher? You know, Justin Verlander left. Everybody knew he was going. Usually you lose a Cy Young Award winner, it's panic time. But they still have 6 proven starters, well, 5 proven and Hunter Brown, who was outstanding when he came up in September and in the playoffs with an 0.89 ERA as a starter and a reliever. And then Lance McCullers is not going to be ready for the start of the season. So they're now down to 5 legitimate starters. And so they're loaded. But the Braves, remember last year, they were trying to become the first team since the Yankees in 2000 to repeat. And they won 102 games, but they were upset in the playoffs. So you can still have a great regular season. But, man, if you got pitching depth, and the thing the Astros got going is the best bullpen in baseball last season is back intact.
John, I wasn't planning on asking about baseball since we started off on that note. I was just talking a little while ago about the new rules. Did you get a chance to really digest much of those while you were out there and kind of see the –
Absolutely.
Yeah, what'd you think?
Well, first of all, if you didn't know the bases were bigger, 4 inches bigger all around, you wouldn't notice it. And the pitch clock is the one that is affecting hitters and pitchers. And the rule is when the pitcher gets the ball in his glove, he has 15 seconds to deliver with nobody on base and 20 if somebody's on base. The hitters have to be in the box ready to hit with 8 seconds left. And if you're Astros like Jose Altuve and Kyle Tucker, who have these routines they go through, Tucker reaches down after every pitch. He doesn't wear batting gloves. He takes dirt, he rubs it, and then he flicks something off, an imaginary thing off the end of his bat. And Altuve steps out and redoes both batting gloves. So Altuve yesterday struck out 3 times, and it's going to be an adjustment period. And the one that, like, their pitcher Luis Garcia has the rock the baby motion. He's eliminated it. He pitched today, and he pitched great. And the thing that I don't like, and I love the no shift, but the thing I don't like is the rule that you can't, if you go to first base on a pickoff attempt twice, that's it. So if you go twice, and one counts if you step off the mound. And if that happens, the pitcher can take a 20-foot lead and then just take off and steal second or third base because they want stolen bases to increase. Well, you know what? When Lou Brock and Ricky Henderson and Maury Wills were stealing 100 bases, they had the same rules. And I just saw something online today that one team got through a half inning in 2 minutes, and on the right side, they showed an at-bat last year, 2 minutes for one hitter.
Yeah, I saw that too, yeah.
It's going to make games faster, and that's good. And Hunter Brown, their great rookie pitching prospect, he said, I did this last year in the minors. He said, once you adjust to it, it's no big deal. And he said, not everybody's going to like it because not everybody likes it when they make significant changes. And people are wondering now, what other changes do they want to make?
The Astros, obviously, again, we will discuss NFL. John's been there covering them and part of his GallerySports.com. The NFL Combine, John, I know that you had been a part of many of these over the years. And how has it changed in your opinions, if at all?
Well, the first one I went to in 1987 when it was in Indianapolis for the first time. And I guess I talked my boss into coming to get draft stuff because for our draft series. And there were like 6 of us standing in the lobby of the Crown Plaza. And we had a sheet that showed players' numbers, like number 837. And when they come out, we'd see if it's somebody we want to interview. We ask them to stop. Some would, some wouldn't. NFL then gave no cooperation whatsoever. So there was 6 of us. Now there's 1,221 media people here. And I think the NFL Network has taken it to a new level. And the thing I don't like about it has nothing to do with the combine. It's all these NFL people who and ah over guys throwing passes in shorts and T-shirts with no pressures, and they should make great throws. Will Levis, quarterback from Kentucky, and Anthony Richardson from Florida, who completed 53% of his passes, but he's got the best upside of anybody. If somebody wants to take a chance, they're going to look great. They're going to look great physically. They're going to sound great, and they're going to throw great. And their stock is probably going to go up because of the combine, and then, of course, their pro days and you get private workouts. But the main thing is just so many people here now.
John, the Texans have pick 2, pick 12, and pick 33, among other picks. But you can get 3 at least 1 really premium player, maybe 2, and a third that may have a first-round grade on your board based on, how people fall because of how they sit. If Chicago does open it up and trade that first pick, would it be foolish of Houston to get involved in that, or would they only do that if they have to have, say, Bryce Young as opposed to C.J. Stroud or Will Levis?
The Texans have 11 picks, including second and 12 overall. That victory here against the Colts in the last game was the worst win in franchise history. Nobody outside of their building, NRG Stadium, wanted them to win that game. So now they're going to have to, if they want to move up a spot, give up something. The Bears want to get them and the Colts, who have the 4th pick, both of them desperate for quarterbacks, in a bidding war. But Nick Caserio, the GM, who talks a lot and says nothing, tried to convince us today in his media session that they might trade up, they might trade down. They may stay in a second spot and take a quarterback, or they may take a defensive player. So, in other words, he didn't tell us squat. And I guarantee you he has no clue what he's going to do right now because this is just really the second step in the process. Besides the pro days and private workouts and lunches and dinners, you can bring in 30 prospects to your facility. Can't work out, but you can get to know them. And so ideally they'll fall in love with a quarterback that the Colts don't want. It must be hard for a new coach like D'Amico Ryans, former linebacker defense coordinator, to pass up Georgia defensive tackle Jalen Carter and Alabama edge rusher Will Anderson Jr. because they, not the quarterbacks, are the highest rated players in this draft.
John, I saw where there's some more Daniel Snyder scuttlebutt about, a loan that he took out, and also how money was being pocketed, and there's just it seems like something else constantly going on with the Commanders franchise and Daniel Snyder, and yet nothing has actually changed at the top. But you did have the note out there, I guess, yesterday about Tillman Fertitta submitting a bid for the Commanders. Your thoughts on just where we are with Washington as a franchise, Daniel Snyder and that whole saga, and what do you think about Fertitta extending a bid?
Well, Fertitta is very popular in Houston, and he wants to own an NFL team. He's never tried to hide it. He'd love to own the Texans, but they're not for sale, at least not anytime soon. And what a great situation, replacing Dan Snyder, one of the worst owners in the history of sports. So you talk about a great situation. If you're a multi-billionaire, why not give an extra billion to be so beloved? It's not like you'd be replacing, say, Tom Brady or David Smoke. You're replacing Dan Snyder. They would give you the land for a new stadium and put tax dollars into it. There would be so much excitement in one of the most storied franchises in sports history. they're trying to get Jerry Jones to broker the deal because Jones gets along with him better than any. And I think, he's trying to get it where they can't stick him. When they find an owner, they take it out of the TV money. They don't write a check. And he doesn't want these things that he's got pending on all the sexual misconduct. Be like Jerry Richardson, sell now, get out of it, and there's nothing they can do to you financially. But his ego is so big. They say he don't want to sell Jeff Bezos because he owns the Washington Post. Wouldn't it be something if he said, yeah, Jeff, I'll sell you this franchise, but I want you to give me the Washington Post so I can start firing people.
That would be something, you're right.
Yeah.
Do you feel like Goodell has been protecting Snyder?
No, Goodell wants it gone. You can't make an owner sell. You can have owners, you have to have 3/4 majority. And I heard a year ago he was lobbying some owners that don't hate him, trying to get enough votes in case they tried to make him sell. He wants to go out on his terms. I mean, my goodness, he's going to make clear $5 or $6 billion based on what he paid for it. And, guys like that who are hated by everybody, people wonder what's it like to be them? Well, they're worth billions and billions and billions. They can have IMAX theaters on their yacht. So they do have some people that like them. Maybe they pay them to like them, but they just tune everything out and live their life. And he's still relatively young. He could lead a hell of a life with all those multiple billions of dollars. And the NFL wants it done sooner rather than later.
Is part of this just about him winning? Like just being like, oh, I've won at this whatever game this is for Daniel Snyder.
Well, Paul, my God, if he sells that franchise for anywhere from Fertitta's 5.5 to the 7 he's trying to get, yeah, he won. He can slap his hands together like he's washing his hands of the team. And he grew up a diehard fan of that team. They wanted Bob McNair to buy it from Jack Kent Cooke because he wanted to buy a team. And he told them no, he was holding out to get a team in Houston. And that franchise could have been a whole lot different. And I don't think anybody had any idea Snyder was going to be as bad as he is and do what's happened to that franchise. That stadium, when it opened, it was the Taj Mahal, and now it is a dump. They just let it go to what. And that's why the fans are going to be dancing in the streets. They'll want to build a statue down by the Lincoln Memorial for whoever buys that franchise and gets rid of Daniel Snyder.
I shared this with Garrett, who's a lifelong Washington football from the Redskins to now the Commanders. I have about 10 or 12 T-shirts. I have a couple of other things. I don't know what they are, but hanging in my closet, and I've actually taken them all and moved them to an upstairs closet in the corner. I'm not going to wear any of them until there's an ownership change. Now, I know it sounds petty, and no one cares, but that's the way I feel about them because I'm so embarrassed by how they're run and all the things in between and how they've just been a mess for 2 decades plus.
Well, I'm pretty sure they're going to be too big for you when you decide to put them on, but you can always have them altered. My wife, Carol, grew up Silver Spring, loving the Redskins and Joe Gibbs. She, right when they talked about the name change, she went online and bought all kinds of Redskins stuff, and I don't know what she did with it, but I know it's there somewhere. And she was on the sideline last time Washington came, and she had a half shirt that was Washington Texans and a half they were Redskins. I don't think she wouldn't use Commanders. She hates Commanders. Refuses to call them a Commanders. But I know she'll be celebrating. If she could turn cartwheels at her age, she'd be turning cartwheels down the street if Snyder sells it. Because like everybody else, they hate them. And there can't be a better situation for an owner to go into. People may say Steve Ballmer and Don Sterling, but that was the Los Angeles Clippers. They were perennial losers. This is the Washington Redskins, one of the most storied franchises in sports history that's won 3 Super Bowls and had one of the greatest coaches in history, and they've gone straight down the toilet. They've gone so far they're down in the sewer system, and Dan Snyder keeps tugging them lower and lower. A lot of people wish the NFL would push up the results of the latest sexual misconduct scandal, but I think they're worried if they do that, he may just dig in even more.
John, Baylor, 2 wins last night. The men win in Stillwater, hung on at the end. The women, like out of nowhere. They have had some moments where they've blown a couple of games late at home to Oklahoma and Iowa State, and they've had some bad losses. But how about the win in Austin?
When Baylor beats the University of Texas in any sport, and especially in football, but basketball as well, you know it's a great day. I know so many people in Houston and around the state who would rather beat Texas than anything, even if they lost everything else. And I watched that game last night, and I'm holding my breath at the end thinking, my goodness, what are they doing? But they held on. And the women, man, I know the coaches must have been going crazy to pull that one out. And they make everybody proud when they win, but especially when you beat the Longhorns at anything.
Thank you for your time, John.
Sick 'em Bears.
John McClain, Hall of Famer, GallerySports.com, Houston 610 with us most every Tuesday in the 5 o'clock hour. We appreciate his time and knowledge. And I remember